Yes. Good evening. Again, I am going to tell you are waiting to get registered in next year batch. Now, this year batch has been called, but university there's a delay because university external department was closed for 2 months, right? They had the internal problem, so they didn't work. Now they are working. So this time batch they will register soon, but next year it will not be delayed like that. In January like that, January, February they will call application. Sometimes this year another batch should call, but I will try my best to do that because as I said, this degree was stopped then. It was I who got the degree back, right? Anyway, what I want to say is that you should improve your knowledge. Therefore, some students also suggested me at least part of literature syllabus please teach. Yes. Now I decided to complete at least half of literature, half of language and half of the methodology syllabus before registration. Then selection test is easy because your knowledge will be okay then. Right? Sometimes you may have learned this story. This is a Sri Lankan short story called Tip of the Iceberg. Tip of the Iceberg by Lalitha Withanachchi. Lalitha Withanachchi, in writing this short story to Sri Lankan one, Tip of the Iceberg, she speaks of two things. One, Sri Lankan education, other thing, political field. Right? Sri Lankan politics. Now, here tip of the iceberg means icebergs floating in sea. Right? Before that, I should say some student asked me various questions. Can we go to teaching? Why not? This degree has been designed for teachers. Those who complete this degree can enter teaching directly. There are many students of mine, right? All literature teachers in many literature teachers in Colombo district, Western province, Candian, like that, all are my students. I mean, not senior ones, new generation one. Nah? That means under 35 years, like that, teachers, they are my student. They complete degree and entered, yes, teaching. Names also I can tell, but I don't remember exactly. That St. John College, Damsidu, Royal College, Tekla. Yes, like that I don't call name. Yes, Colombo, 10, Al-Hamid, school teacher, Trishanika. All my students when I did Colombo classes, they came, okay. Because many student names I don't remember where they work or like that. Yes. So tip of the iceberg mean when icebergs float in the sea, 1/3 is above water, sorry, 1/9 is above water, and 1/10 is above water, 9/10 is inside water, in water. Therefore, iceberg is not seen. That is how that Titanic ship collided an iceberg and sank. Right? So here, the tip of the iceberg, writing this story, Lalitha K. Withanachchi, criticizes Sri Lankan politics. Now, actually, this some students don't like this short story because this is woven around 71 insurgency. Tell me, anyone of you know what 71 insurgency mean? You don't know, I think. I don't know either because I was born in 75, but we have heard it. 71 insurgency means that time JVP leader, who was the founder of JVP. Now earlier students were afraid to talk that. Now no need to talk. Why? Because now JVP is on power. President is JVP, right? NPP means again JVP, right? JVP launched 71 insurgency when Rohana Vijayveera, when Sirimao Bandaranaike was on power. Sirimao Bandaranaike's rule, people had hard times, no rice, right? And therefore young men got weapons against the government. That is called JVP insurgency, but that leaked. Sirimao asked for China government support to surmount the insurgency. That time, Srimao's government was labeled like Sri Lankan Socialist Democratic Government. She told China, my socialist government is going to be toppled by rebellions. China didn't know the reality. So China sent planes, helicopters, and attacked. Thus, 30,000 young men were killed by Srimao Bandaranaike. That is called 71 insurgency. Right? Now you may ask, the title is the tip of the iceberg, and what nonsense are you talking? No, wait. Many teachers, even I think this was included HND also, they didn't talk about that earlier. Right? For more than 20 years, I taught English in many schools in various parts of the island. I can remember the faces of my pupils as I struggled to teach them a foreign language. Yes, see, for many years, for more than 20 years, I taught English in many schools in various parts of the island. Who tells? Lalitha Withanachchi. Then she was an English teacher. She write this story through her first-hand experience being an English teacher in a Sri Lankan school. This is your syllabus one, okay? This is from your syllabus, right? Syllabus contains 6 short stories, 4 novels, you know, The Waiting Earth, Riot, Frankenstein, Gulliver's Travels, Robinson Crusoe. You have to learn. First year, yes. Entire degree has 22 subjects. All 22 subjects I will teach up to now. For 20 years I did that, and more than 1,000 graduates are produced. Yes. Even former Air Force commander's wife, Mrs. Jayampati, Anoma Jayampati also learned under my guidance. Yes. Because university is okay, but what university says is students don't understand. They don't guide them to right answers. For years, I coaxed, cajoled, goaded, threatened and berated them as they wrestled with the slippery syntax of English. You know, syntax is a serious lesson. So English, they found as slippery syntax. Therefore, at the beginning of the story, the writer's voice is critical towards the process of teaching English in Sri Lanka. She had to coax, cajole, goad, threaten, and berate also. Because students wrestled with the slippery syntax. What is English? A language. English is a language, not a subject. Here the writer shows how Sri Lanka English was taught. Now this is about the 70th decade. 70th decade. It was during the 70th decade that she was teaching English. The tortures they must, and I mean, English is a language, not a subject. But here Sri Lanka, according to here Lalitha Withanachchi, English was taught as a subject. The tortures they must have endured at my hands studying the language that had sometimes to be taught as a second language and sometimes as a foreign language, according to the dictates of the education department. This word pronunciation, education, not education. Education department. So she is critical towards the process of teaching English because there was no standard process, one time second language, and again foreign language. At present, it is taught as a second language. And teachers were not with their own freedom to teach English, and they were dictated by education department through methodology and seminars like that. Many were the seminars I was forced to attend. That means, did she like to attend seminars? So she was sent by force. Yes, she was insisted to attend seminars. I was so befuddled with methodology that I felt I was teaching a language invented by none other than Torquemada of Spain. She says it was a language that was invented by Torquemada. That means that is about what? Language in Spain. So for the purpose of inspection, I kept my notes of lessons and schemes of work, immaculate according to the prescription, red lines, aim of lesson, number of units per topic, and so on. Why did she do so? She kept notes to make the process methodical or to avoid, inspection. To avoid the inspection. But as a treat, when there was no threat of inspection, with the process of time, she understood that there was no threat of inspection. So she says, I taught English the way my teachers, Miss Rigg, Miss Chapman, and Miss Inez taught me. I used short, simple words that communicated the meaning. So as a treat, when there was no threat of inspection, I taught English the way my teachers, Miss Rigg, Miss Chapman, and Mrs. Inez taught me. Now, when we read these names, what we understand clearly is that these names are not familiar Sinhalese names, local names. They are the names of burghers, Sri Lankan burghers, who are the descendants of Dutch. Their native tongue is English. So they teach English naturally, as they find it. They don't want methodology or other guidance. Therefore, this narrator, also the writer, was taught English by these, yes, burger teachers, native speakers. Native speakers, their language is native, so that they don't want methodology or other techniques or whatever it is. So she used simple words that communicated the meaning. When speaking, when communicating orally, one should use the simplest terms, not difficult words. Yes. Now she tells about two schools where she worked. One, Anuradhapura Central, and the other, one Colombo, right? So at Anuradhapura Central, I spent 5 glorious years teaching the tale of two cities. 2 years I taught English in Anuradhapura, 5 years. She said, she says she taught the novel The Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Each year my job increased as with infinite patience my pupil. Infinite patience my pupils learnt English and excelled in it. She says 100 people learned English. Right? It was 60th decade. It was in 60th decade, right? Years passed. I was transferred from school to school, and finally I found myself in an institution of learning in the suburbs of Colombo. Right? Finally, she was transferred to an institution of learning in the suburbs of Colombo. She doesn't mention the name of that school. Right? But Andhra Central she names because she teaches in this school in 1971. About 10 years before, she taught in Andhra Central, time period different. This had been a great school in its time. It was named after Great Saint. That school, Great Saint, means school name begins with Saint. But there was nothing saintly or righteous in this temple of learning. It's a Christian school. There was no any order, any discipline. Yes, that's why I say nothing saintly or righteous in this temple of learning. Nil Desperandum read the motto at the entrance. At the entrance of the motto, there was the, yes, at the entrance, there was the motto what? Nil Desperandum. Nil Desperandum. It's a Latin phrase. It's Sinhala word, right? Never be desperate. Never be desperate. Right? That means never be discouraged. When we search Google, only school in Sri Lanka with this motto is St. John College, Nugegoda. That high level road near bus halt, soon after the flyover, Nugegoda flyover. Yes. Right. Behind the shed. That is the school I said. One of my graduates, Damsilu, is working there. Yes. Yes. So, St. John College was where she worked, but she could not mention the name because she talked about that school in a negative manner. Though she tells negative manner, actually that is school good. I walked through the narrow passage and entered Bedlam. 4,000 boys were crammed in this ghetto. Several monsoons ago, the roof of one block had been blown away. Broken furniture was heaped at one end of the playground. They served as playthings to these boys who had no bats or balls. Now, difference between two schools. Anuradhapura school, she appreciates, she comments, but here she, yes, talks sarcastically about this school. Circumstances had made these boys a tough lot. There were circumstances. Most of their fathers were unemployed. Besides wrestling with the English language that hung over their heads like a swords of Damocles in school, these boys wrestled with empty stomachs at home, while their mothers groped for coppers in their husbands' empty pockets. So here writer speaks about poverty. Poverty. This poverty-stricken background also reasoned the 71 insurgency. Now you may ask, what are you talking insurgency? In Sinhala Kerala, Hattike Kerala. I was told that no work could be done here. If I kept an eye on the boys and maintained some semblance of order, that was all that mattered. Their father, principal, Catholic father, he told teacher just to manage the discipline of the school behavior, not to teach. He said, no inspectors come here. So don't worry about notes of lessons and all that rubbish, said the principal. But you may be able to do some little thing for these boys. Right? No, not coming inspectors, so manage it. I was in charge of 14 boys in the advanced level class. Now it was my turn to endure the tortures of teaching English to pupils who had neither text nor exercise books. So again, she highlights poverty. Where? Colombo, Nugegoda. Okay. Now it's a difference. So Nugegoda, people were poor. Anuradhapura. Anuradhapura farming area. They had, yes, rice, vegetable, coconut. Okay. They could manage. But Nugegoda, working area, laboring area, no farming. But there was one bright, here should be ray of hope. I had also to teach geography, my favorite subject. She says I had to teach geography, my favorite subject. Here my talents had not yet been stifled by religious on the teaching of geography, as my English teaching had been crippled by the regulations of teaching English. She couldn't teach English because there were regulations. So one day she tried to teach some geography lesson to boys because principal father, priest, advised her not to think about notes and other rubbish. The boys were at my mercy. Anyway, I remember them with deep affection. Anyway, I remember with them with deep affection. Now teacher, marking attendance, Sam, present. Rohita, present. Duminda da Silva, here. Costa, Innova. Rodrigo, home. So, who are the boys? Several boys. Costa, Rodrigo, Duminda da Silva. Right? Yes. I closed the register and began the lesson. Like the doomed, they sighed and groaned and zagged. They dragged their rickety chairs and huddled together. Pimply faced, with a few wisps of beard, they sat with lips tight, watching me. Take out your books, I said. Rohit and Duminda pulled out their battered exercise books from their trouser pockets. The others had none. Can I have some chalk? I asked. No chalks exam. Life was not that beneficent in this forsaken temple of learning. I removed my glasses and wiped my lenses, adjusting my spectacles. I waited for time. Silence descended upon the seater. I picked up the stub of chalk that was on my desk and wrote the word glaciation. Glaciation means work of ice. Now they were openly sniggering. There was sound of pleading in my voice as I said softly, but this was a tragedy. Here, we should go to that time. After this one other page, I could hear groan. Oh, work of ice, I added, and I wiped the dust off my hand. My pupils seemed a trifle euphoric. I would tackle this subject the way I had done in the other schools where I had taught. I told them all about cold Arctic regions of snow, avalanches, and iceberg. You can see only the tip of the iceberg. 9/10 of it's hidden under the water, so they are great hazard to shipping. Nothing is so depressing that having a copy and not roll read in a dull sonorous tone on glaciation on a hot April afternoon. I had my own special private discovery, as all teachers have. Right? Now students left. Right? So I will continue other part because through this I want to improve your knowledge to manage the selection test.